A banned book, a hidden truth. In the heart of the Vatican, whispers speak of an alternative version of the Bible, kept in absolute secrecy. What is hidden in the pages of this text? Revolutionary teachings that could shake the foundations of the Christian faith and challenge the authority of the Church. Imagine a world where these teachings are revealed, where control over spiritual knowledge is put to the test. What makes this book so dangerous? Is the Church really trying to protect the faithful, or just maintain its hold on the faith? A growing tension surrounds this narrative, full of mysteries and questions that cannot be ignored. As we delve into apocryphal texts, new perspectives on Jesus Christ emerge, challenging everything we know. What would the lives of believers be like if these secrets were revealed? What impacts would this have on a doctrine built over centuries? Get ready to explore the dark side of Christian history, where truth may be stranger than fiction. What is at stake is more than belief, it's about the freedom to know. Canonicity refers to the criteria that determine which texts are considered authoritative and therefore part of the Bible. This selection process was not simple or uniform. Over the centuries, religious leaders, councils, and communities have discussed and debated which writings should be included, taking into account their authenticity, oral tradition, and acceptance in Christian communities. Thus, some texts were widely accepted, while others were excluded and remained on the sidelines, creating what many call the hidden Bible. The existence of a hidden Bible is an intriguing topic. This expression refers to texts that, for various reasons, have never been officially recognized. These writings can contain valuable teachings and different perspectives on the Christian faith. The fact that they are not part of the official Bible does not mean that they have no importance or influence. Thus, canonicity raises questions about who decides what is sacred and whose voices are silenced. The selection of text was also influenced by political and social issues. In many cases, texts that challenged the status quo or prevailing doctrines were rejected. This highlights that canonicity is not just a matter of faith but also of power. Church leaders had their reasons for keeping certain texts out of the Bible, which may have shaped Christian views in several ways. Furthermore, canonicity reflects a specific historical and cultural context. As Christianity spread, different communities interpreted the message in different ways. This plurality of voices may have contributed to the exclusion of certain writings that did not align with the dominant view. Therefore, canonicity is a complex and multifaceted concept that continues to generate debate. The study of canonicity invites us to reflect on the richness of the Christian tradition. There's a diversity of thoughts and teachings that, although not present in the official Bible, can enrich contemporary spirituality. Understanding these selection criteria helps us better appreciate the history of Christianity and its many nuances. Apocryphal texts are those that were not included in the official Bible, but that provide interesting teachings and alternative perspectives on the life and teachings of Jesus. A famous example is the Gospel of Thomas, a set of sayings attributed to Jesus that emphasize spiritual knowledge and inner searching. These texts challenge the traditional view and offer a more esoteric interpretation of the Christian message. The Book of Enoch is another apocryphal that deserves to be highlighted. It presents a rich narrative about angels, heavenly visions, and moral questions. Through his stories, Enoch leads us to question established norms and to think about the relationship between the human and the divine. These writings, although not officially recognized, have influenced many spiritual traditions throughout history, expanding the understanding of what it means to be a Christian. Apocryphal texts also bring to light debates about the nature of God, salvation, and life after death. For example, some writings suggest a more inclusive view of salvation, where everyone has the opportunity to reconnect with the divine. This provokes a reflection on dogmas that often seem rigid and exclusive. Furthermore, these texts show us that spirituality is a personal quest and that many paths can lead to a deeper understanding of faith. The narratives contained in the Apocrypha offer an invitation to exploration, doubt, and spiritual growth. They remind us that the journey of faith is unique to each individual. The presence of apocryphal texts in the history of Christianity suggests that spirituality is a vast and constantly evolving field. These writings not only challenge convention, but also enrich the discussion about faith, reminding us that there are many voices and experiences that deserve to be heard. The Catholic Church has always played a central role in shaping the Christian narrative over the centuries. Since the first councils, where it was defined which texts would be considered sacred, until today, the Vatican has acted as guardian of doctrine. This influence is so strong that many believe that the Church shaped the interpretation of Scripture according to its needs and interests. Controlling the narrative allows the Church to maintain a certain unity among the faithful, but it also raises questions about the diversity of thought within Christianity. Furthermore, the Vatican frequently faces texts that challenge its teachings. Apocryphal texts or other writings that were not included in the official Bible may present alternative views that contradict Catholic doctrine. The Church's handling of these texts reveals much about its commitment to protecting its position of authority. By ignoring or discrediting these works, the Church seeks to avoid fragmentation of the faith and confusion among its followers. Another important aspect is the issue of transparency. The Catholic Church, by controlling which texts are disseminated and which are silenced, may be limiting the faithful's access to a broader and richer understanding of Christian spirituality. This generates a debate about the extent to which this practice is beneficial or harmful. For some, it is a way of protecting their faith. For others, it is a way of restricting freedom of thought. Historically, this control dynamic has led to internal and external conflicts. Critics of the Church argue that this authoritarian approach can lead to the manipulation of faith and the creation of rigid dogma. On the other hand, defenders of the Church believe that it is necessary to preserve the fundamental truth of Christianity. This tension between control and freedom is a recurring theme in the history of the Church. The role of the Vatican in the Christian tradition remains a complex and debated issue. With the increasing accessibility of historical information and texts, the Church faces the challenge of maintaining its relevance and authority in a world where the faithful have access to a variety of perspectives. This situation can generate both opportunities and risks for the practice of faith. Archaeological discoveries have played a fundamental role in the reassessment of religious history. Artifacts and texts found in excavations can provide new information about the time in which biblical texts were written. These findings often challenge the Church's traditional narrative, suggesting that Christian history is more complex than previously thought. For example, the discovery of ancient documents that report alternative versions of biblical events could lead to new interpretations of the life of Jesus and his messages. Furthermore, archaeology also helps to put into perspective the diversity of beliefs that existed in the first centuries of Christianity. By studying the communities that lived at the time, archaeologists are able to identify practices and beliefs that were not included in the official Bible. This raises questions about what was deliberately excluded and why. The result is a richer understanding of early Christianity and its many facets. This evidence not only challenges church doctrine, but may also influence contemporary spirituality. As more people become aware of this new information, they may reevaluate their beliefs and the way they relate to Christian tradition. This can generate an environment of questioning and reflection where believers seek a more authentic connection with their beliefs. On the other hand, the Catholic Church may see these discoveries as a threat to its authority. The challenge is balancing the need to maintain tradition with the reality that history is constantly evolving. This tension between tradition and discovery is a crucial aspect of the modern religious experience. In short, historical and archaeological evidence not only enriches the understanding of Christianity, but also questions the dominant narrative. As more information becomes available, the dialogue about faith and history continues to expand, challenging both the Church and the faithful to reflect on what it really means to be a Christian. The idea that the Church may be protecting its faithful from potentially disruptive information is a complex issue. Many people believe that certain knowledge, if disclosed, could shake the faith of many. For example, apocryphal texts or teachings considered heretical may present views on spirituality that diverge from what is taught in churches. In this sense, protection can be seen as an attempt to maintain the spiritual stability of the community, avoiding crises of faith that could arise with new information. On the other hand, this protection raises an important debate about the control of knowledge. The Church, by deciding what is acceptable or not, ends up exercising a form of power over people's spiritual understanding. This can lead to a situation where believers feel uninformed or limited in their search for answers. Access to different spiritual perspectives is fundamental to personal and collective growth, and the exclusion of certain texts can be interpreted as a form of control. Furthermore, this issue of controlling spiritual knowledge is not new. Throughout history, there have been several movements that oppose the authority of the Church, seeking to free spirituality from rigid dogmas. These groups often claim that the true essence of faith lies in a broader and more diverse understanding of Scripture. They argue that diversity of thoughts and teachings can enrich spiritual experience rather than detract from it. Faced with this scenario, many believers ask themselves, how healthy is this protection? Is it possible that by restricting access to certain information, the Church is actually limiting its followers' capacity for spiritual growth? This reflection is fundamental for those who seek a deeper connection with their faith, without the constraints of excessive control. The issue of controlling spiritual knowledge leads to a search for balance. How do we find a middle ground between protecting faith and allowing the freedom to explore different spiritual paths? This is an open discussion, which will certainly continue to resonate among those who seek to better understand the relationship between the Church and spiritual knowledge. The emergence of movements and sects based on occult texts is a fascinating phenomenon. Many of these organizations rely on teachings that are not part of the official Bible, but that promise a deeper understanding of spirituality. These groups often attract followers who feel dissatisfied with traditional interpretations of the Christian faith. They seek something that resonates more with their personal and spiritual experiences. A notable example is the use of Gnostic texts, which offer an alternative view of Jesus and his message. These writings often emphasize the individual search for knowledge and truth, rather than a blind adherence to dogma. For many, this approach is liberating, as it allows everyone to explore their own spirituality without the limitations imposed by official doctrine. However, this also raises concerns about the authenticity and coherence of the teachings these groups offer. Furthermore, the interpretation of hidden texts can vary greatly between different movements. While some may take a more mystical and introspective approach, others may be more radical and dogmatic in their beliefs. This diversity results in a wide range of practices and beliefs that often challenge the norms of traditional Christian faith. This can lead to tensions between these groups and established religious institutions. Movements based on hidden texts can also have significant social implications. They often promote a critique of the religious status quo, questioning not only the authority of the Church, but also social and cultural norms. This disruption can be a pull factor for those who feel marginalized or disconnected from traditional religious practices. On the other hand, this same criticism can generate resistance and distrust on the part of established institutions. In short, the analysis of movements and sects that are based on occult texts reveals a complex panorama of contemporary spirituality. These groups offer new ways of understanding faith, but they also challenge traditional beliefs, generating an ongoing debate about what it means to be spiritual in modernity. It's a dynamic that continues to evolve, reflecting changes in society and the human search for meaning. And so we reach the heart of the mystery. What is really hidden in the pages of this forbidden book? If it exists, what uncomfortable truths could it reveal about Jesus' life and teachings that the Church has always wanted to keep under wraps? Imagine a world where spirituality is unchecked, where each of us can access the knowledge we have been denied. These apocryphal texts may contain messages that would change everything we know about faith. What would society's reaction be if we discovered that there was more than just one version of the story? What if the Vatican was more concerned with maintaining power than guiding people to the truth? These questions lead us to reflect, to what extent should religion be transparent? What would you do if you had access to this hidden knowledge? What if, in fact, this forbidden book was closer than we think? Continue your journey of discovery and don't forget to leave your opinions in the comments. What do you think is behind this mystery? Let's unravel this web of secrets together. Stay tuned, because the truth may be more surprising than you imagine.